Well, and Stefan, as that cleanup continues from last night's chaos today, a pretty stunning rebuke from the governor towards the city's mayor and police departments. His message is simple: do better. Today, most businesses and stores here in Herald Square and all the way up towards Rockefeller Center looking much like Macy's behind me, all boarded up.
No, watch it.
Windows shattered, merchandise scattered, looters left with whatever they could carry at Macy's iconic Herald Square store.
Yo, free vote! Free vote!
And at Best Buy, 9 blocks up Fifth Avenue. Today, Governor Cuomo blasting the NYPD.
And the police in New York City were not effective at doing their job last night, period.
Mayor de Blasio bristles at the notion looting in the city can't be controlled.
There is no such thing as being able to loot with impunity. I am so sick of these efforts to mischaracterize reality.
Inside the North Face store, mannequins lie like dolls tossed onto the floor, surrounded by shards of broken glass. That broken glass from these storefront windows collected in a pile just at the front of the store. Now those windows where the glass once stood replaced by boards. This is a scene playing out all along Fifth Avenue here, store after store trying to protect themselves from scenes like this, where looters broke through, scattered merchandise, and took what they could.
Oh, it's pretty scary, I may say. I hope it's gonna be better soon.
As drills echo throughout this stretch of Midtown, business owners brace for another night.
All the lumber yards are totally out of lumber, so we had to go bring it from upstate.
I'm just afraid that we're gonna change the narrative by seeing this.
As this woman surveys the damage, her mask hides her tears. She fears the heart of protesters' message may be punctured in these shards of glass.
I think we have to reckon the reasons why we're at this place.
Now, she worries very much that the line has been blurred now between looters and peaceful protesters. Meanwhile, Macy's has sent an email to its employees that News 4 has obtained. And we've learned that Macy's tells their employees nobody was injured last night in all of this damage, and they call the damage minimal. We're live at Herald Square. I'm John Chandler, News 4 New York.
All right, John, thank you for that report, and a disturbing incident to show you from the Mount Eden section of the Bronx. If you haven't seen this yet, we want to warn you, an NYPD sergeant hit by a car so hard his body was thrown into the air. All of it was caught on camera. You could hear the shock of the person who was recording that incident. The driver of the dark sedan took off from that scene. Police showed up seconds later. Happened at the intersection of East 170th Street and Walton Avenue early this morning. We're told that sergeant is in serious condition this afternoon. The hit-and-run driver is still out there. Well, we've been talking about looters all day long. They also hit the Bronx very hard. Store owners returned this morning, heartbroken to see that all of their life's work was just left in shambles. News 4 investigative reporter Sarah Wallace was in the University Heights section with a look. Sarah, they're now left to pick up the pieces.
Well, and Natalie, it is just tragic. The mayor actually toured this area a short time ago, and he talked to a number of store owners. He also saw the destruction for himself, destruction like this. This used to be a pharmacy. You know, this community has tried and struggled for so long to lift itself up. What happened overnight was just a knockout blow to many.
This is exclusive surveillance video of vandals breaking into Jessica Betancourt's optical store on West Burnside Avenue around 3 a.m., smashing display cases and kiosks, stealing everything in sight.
It hurts. I get emotional because we put hard work to make a difference in the community. They destroyed us.
Looters plundered and pillaged blocks and blocks throughout this neighborhood, starting fires, shattering lives.
Pretty much a complete loss. Everything we had here, all the narcotics and medicine and everything over the counter, the front end. They even took the ATM machine, they pulled it out, they yanked it out, and it's pretty much savagery.
Jewelry stores targeted too.
They take everything. They took everything.
The reality stark in the daylight. Residents walking by the devastation in a state of shock and outrage.
It's painful, you know, to see all this, because you know what? This is where everybody come to and shop and make their living, you know, and then to see the owners, you can see their faces, they're all destroyed.
But there is hope here and determination. Teams of young people swooped in with brooms and dustpans, cleaning up the debris.
This is our neighborhood, and once outside opens back up, we have nothing to come outside to. So it's like...
And we grew up here. A lot of us have ate from these stores, grew up from here. So we're just supporting our community and helping cleaning up a little bit because we don't agree with this.
People continue to walk by just shaking their heads in disgust. And Jessica Betancourt, who owns that optical store down the street, had a message for the looters. She said, "You are cowards. You are disgracing the memory of George Floyd." Live from the University Heights section of the Bronx, Sarah Wallace, News 4 New York.
Sarah, thank you so much. When you see that destruction, it's no wonder the calls are growing louder for Mayor de Blasio to bring in the National Guard to stop the violence and the looting. For now, the mayor is pushing back. He insists the city doesn't need them. He says the NYPD's 38,000 member force can handle this crisis. But Governor Cuomo says so far the mayor and the NYPD have failed, and he's offering the state police and 13,000 members of the National Guard to help. News 4's Melissa Russo in the newsroom now with more of, to put it lightly, the governor's blistering criticism of the NYPD and the city.
Stephen, Governor Cuomo went to town on Mayor de Blasio today for failing to keep the city safe, but he also notably stopped short of using his own powers to take control of what he called an unacceptable situation. Many New Yorkers agree last night's looting was out of control, but not Mayor de Blasio.
I am so sick of these efforts to mischaracterize realities.
A defensive de Blasio today insisted the looting was limited because it mostly happened in Midtown and the Bronx. He even contradicted his own police commissioner in public.
There was looting throughout New York City.
I want to disagree with the word throughout New York City.
In comes Governor Andrew Cuomo.
It was a disgrace.
Charging the mayor and his police department are failing at their jobs and denying reality.
This is a glass of water. This is not a glass of milk. It's a fact.
But despite the outrage of a governor who loves to dangle his power, especially over this mayor,
I have National Guard who are available.
Cuomo is stopping short of sending in the National Guard, A, because the mayor doesn't want them.
When outside armed forces go into communities, no good comes of it.
And B, because Cuomo says removing the mayor would be a lot right now.
My option is to displace the mayor of New York City. I don't think we're at that point.
There's one more reason Governor Cuomo might be avoiding the move, because it's precisely what President Donald Trump is demanding he do. New York City, call up the National Guard, the president tweeted today. The lowlifes and losers are ripping you apart. Act fast. Don't make the same horrible and deadly mistake you made with the nursing homes. President Trump also tweeted about Macy's being damaged by hoodlums and thieves, but Mayor de Blasio doubled down in his own series of tweets this afternoon, saying the damage was only in some parts of the city and that the acts were committed only by a criminal few. But Governor Cuomo remaining hands-off for now. Natalie?
All right, Melissa, thanks for the latest on that. Reverend Al Sharpton was joined by several city leaders today demanding a bill that would criminalize the use of police chokeholds. Now, Eric Garner's mother, Gwen Carr, stood by his side as Sharpton denounced the use of excessive force by officers. Together with local leaders, they asked for legislation that would criminalize the chokeholds and also for a bill that would create a standardized system for police penalties.
There is a reason people all over the country are energized and have come forward, because they know this is not a one-time thing. This is not just Floyd. It goes all the way back. And New York should set the tone, because the first time we heard "I Can't Breathe" was not in Minneapolis.
Sharpton confirmed today that he will be traveling to Minneapolis and he will deliver the eulogy for George Floyd at a family memorial service this Thursday.
Last night's 11 p.m. curfew in the city really did nothing to stop the vandalism and the looting. So tonight, that curfew has been pushed up 3 hours earlier, now 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. But will the earlier time help to keep the peace on the streets? News 4's Andrew Siff live in Astoria with less than 4 hours to go, Andrew.
Yeah, Stefan, that's a good question. I'm in Astoria, protest out here, another peaceful one. just wrapped up, and some of those who were in attendance had a lot of questions about that curfew, especially since now, under the law, they have to be inside their homes less than 4 hours from now. Horns blared in support. But among the hundreds at this afternoon protest in Astoria, New Yorkers wondering what happens a few hours from now. Carol Hawkins concerned about the new curfew, forcing everyone to be off the street and home by 8 p.m.
I think it's going to be very difficult for New York. It's going to be very difficult to maintain.
Mayor de Blasio announced the new curfew for Tuesday, even before the first one began at 11 p.m. Monday night. By then, looters had already done widespread damage. And today we found even more storefronts boarded up, with broken glass visible on many blocks. City Hall's new tactic: tonight's curfew begins at 8 p.m., lasts until 5 a.m., and lasts through Sunday. Exempt from the rules are essential workers, the homeless, and anyone with medical needs.
We're going to continue that curfew for the remainder of this week, 8 p.m. each evening till 5 a.m. the next morning.
As a business owner, I'm severely frustrated at the lack of communication from the government.
Matthew Katakis owns a restaurant where the takeout and delivery orders go late into the night. He's not sure if families are allowed to pick up their dinner after 8, and he's worried about workers having to show their ID to police.
Even though they're saying essential operators and owners could stay open, we can't put our staff in the middle of this. We can't risk our staff going home after the curfew.
So here's what we've been told. Suppose you go out to pick up food for your family at 7:45 and it takes a little while and it goes a little bit past 8. You might get asked by police to head home, but it's not a situation where you'll be handed a ticket or arrested. That is reserved for folks who are out in much more of the group settings, violence, looting, and that is what the curfew is aimed at cracking down on. Live in Astoria, Andrew Siff, News 4 New York.